Hello everybody. I would like to first express my thanks and gratitude to the organizers of LINELT, Global Conference on Linguistics and Foreign Language Teaching in Turkey. And I would like to express my thanks to the audience and also to the students and the distinguished members of that society. This is a keynote talk on, the title is Teaching Languages with Technology, Sine Qua Non of Pedagogy. As you know, sine qua non I give the meaning first, means the most essential part of any process. I give you an explanation of the key terms before proceeding to explanation of the whole discussion. The keywords are blended education, that is a combination of traditional education and digital modern education. CALL, the acronym CALL stands for Computer Assisted Language Learning. CMC stands for Computer Mediated Communication. CMD, Computer Mediated Discourse. Digital literacy. EFL, English as a foreign language. MOOC or MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Courses, and the other term is technology. In this talk, I am focusing on, as the name of the topic suggests, I'm focusing on technology and different manifestations of the term technology and its relationship with pedagogy, learning and teaching, and also teaching languages and learning languages. As you know, with the prevalence and dominance of technology, the language teaching and all pedagogy have undergone dominant, important changes. So the traditional way of teaching and transmitting information actually have been replaced by new digital, technological way of actually transmitting the information. In this talk, I'm trying to give you the most important elements and try to elucidate the building blocks of these elements in regard with technology, and as the umbrella general term, and also try to see the relationship with the term technology and its manifestations like CALL, Computer Assisted Language Learning, blended education, flipped learning, CMC, CMD, and the other manifestations of technology and how they have influenced our educational practices. And I also would like to elaborate on some potential challenges and problems and what the future has got in stock for us in the area of technology and digital literacy. So the term literacy is also of paramount importance. Language is a tool for communication. A plethora of teaching methodologies has been suggested to foster students' academic competencies. Using technology has been introduced to help teachers and students enhance their educational practices. In the new global network, it is an inescapable fact that a massive development has been witnessed in IT or information technology with regard to education and its mission in and out of classrooms. So the question is that there are a plethora or a multitude of different teaching techniques and practices and strategies put forward as successful language or language teaching methodologies, and we need to know about their different dimensions and different problems and different effectiveness, especially in regard with the concept of technology. And again, I get back to the idea of blended education. Blended education actually, as the name suggests, blends different kinds of modern and traditional kind of teaching. The application of technology, the application of digital literacy in education, the application of social media, mobiles, different kinds of social networks like Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, and all these different social media to enhance the idea of teaching. So blended education. That's my. I always am obsessed with the idea of giving operational definitions and defining the terms in a proper manner. So I already talked about blended education. Now what is CAL? CAL is computer assisted language learning. Includes a whole range of different approaches to language teaching, which encompass technology. And CMC, that is computer-mediated communication. Any communication which is done through application of computer or laptops could be CMC. And also digital literacy, very important. Digital literacy gives the idea of familiarity with digital technologies, how to write in a digitally acceptable manner, how to comprehend and how to produce messages. The people who are able to detect online problems, online fraud, identity theft, also cyberspace crime, they are actually digitally literate. In other words, high degree of digital literacy can help individuals protect themselves against online problems, online issues, fraud, identity theft, spams, and other important dangerous practices that are exercised nowadays online. So digital literacy is absolutely indispensable in case of actually learning how to use the computer and technology for enhancement of learning. So people who have got different or high degree of literacy or digital literacy are able to learn the materials. They are able to use the software, the relevant software. They are able to use the programs. They are able to use their computers in the most effective, efficient manner. Conversely, people who lack this digital literacy or have got low digital literacy, or they are digitally illiterate, they've got problems with the application of these computer initiated practices, and they will be trapped by online fraud, online problems, and cyberspace crimes, by emails which are unsolicited, and they will be trapped by the people who get their identities and use their identities, and this situation is called identity theft. So one very interesting area of application of digital literacy is with respect to cyberspace crimes and cyberspace problems. And so digital literacy could be very, very essential for any student, for any scholar in the field, and generally for every individual to be able to protect himself or herself against potential online problems. Another important term that is used in this talk is MOOC, M-O-O-C, that is Massive Open Online Course. Very, very significant, and nowadays with the prevalence of technology and the fact that we require to use computers and digital technology for interactive courses for massive audience, this MOOC actually can provide solutions. And MOOC, in MOOC or massive open online course. You know, the materials, the websites, the links, the questions, all are provided to the students online. And this provides the students with a degree of flexibility in the application of all these materials. Also, it provides them with a high degree of self-regulation, self-leadership, autonomy, and they can it can also foster their social soft skills in a very considerable manner. In other words, MOOC is actually very effective in enhancing a student's soft skills, intercommunication skills, critical thinking, higher order cognitive competencies, and so forth. Hence, it is incumbent upon educational practitioners to understand the prevalent attitudes and perceptions of the teaching staff and students towards the presence and functionality of the application of technology to guarantee better knowledge and skill acquisition and to create successful communication via English as a foreign language. Psychologically speaking, constructive learning emphasizes the significance of learners in taking active roles when facing new information to construct their knowledge by linking prior knowledge and experiences. Here, the idea of constructivism and constructivist knowledge. So, it is absolutely necessary for the practitioners to understand the significance and the prevalence of online learning, e-learning, and the fact that these are indispensable nowadays, and they have to make themselves acquainted with the current psychological practices and psychological foundations, philosophical foundations of the educational practices. Similarly, Vygotsky stressed the importance of powerful experiences with people like classmates and teachers. The role of a teacher in a constructivist environment is one of a guide and a facilitator who provides students with opportunities to construct knowledge in individual context and through social negotiation, collaboration, and experience. Experimental results indicate that technology increases students' learning, achievement through digital literacy. Here, the Vygotsky ideas of the idea of the teacher as facilitator, teacher's role as guides, and the fact that the traditional way of teachers as transmitter of information and students as passive recipients of information is discarded now, replaced by the teacher as facilitator, teacher as a guide, teacher who provides scaffolding, teacher who provides feedback, consistent, constructive, mutual feedback between the teacher and the students. All of these are emphasized. And also in online courses, one of the challenges basically is students' engagement and tracking their engagement, tracking their involvement in the task, whether they are really seriously involved in the task and in the process or not. So this is a point of for carrying out research is how can we engage students properly and appropriately in the act of using technology or online courses or MOOC and stuff. That is also open to debate, and researches must be carried out to see the ways we can increase students' involvement in the tasks. So again, talk about the feedback and engagement. So engagement is a very serious issue, is a very important challenge for the educators, for teachers and instructors at universities when they embark on MOOC courses or any online e-learning or computer-assisted language learning or CMC. Engagement is enemy number one. Engagement is the plethora. Engagement is the pitfall. So teachers and educators must find ways to try to engage students as far as possible in the act of learning and communication and interaction. Some researchers have also found that CAL is useful for alleviating students' emotional barriers like anxiety, demotivation, etc. For instance, Reinders and Watana, 2014, investigated the use of Ragnarok online in an English course and found that the students' anxiety was greatly reduced when they use online games to communicate in English. Moreover, technology can boost a student's autonomy, self-regulation, self-assessment, self-leadership, and other soft skills. So you have Rahimi and Skari 2013, Rahimi Fahimi 2017, Rahimi and Mouri 2016, Rahimi and Fariva 2015. So my papers on these issues are available on my ResearchGate and academia.edu, emphasizing the importance of computer-assisted language learning in fostering students' self-regulation, self-leadership, autonomy, self-assessment, peer assessments, which are absolutely prevalent these days in any educational setting. Hence, in addition to enhancing and developing cognitive competencies of students, online courses or computer-assisted language learning processes can boost the emotional factors in the students and can reduce or remove all the negative inhibitive emotions like anxiety, fear, demotivation. So students have more fun, they find it more entertaining because they enjoy some degree of freedom, some degree of entertainment, some degree of flexibility. So it is fun and hilarity, and that's great. And on the contrary, the traditional classroom-based education sometimes will turn out to be boring, monotonous, and without any humor and flexibility. In other words, the online or computer-assisted language learning or MOOC courses can provide students with more entertainment, more flexibility, more self-regulation, more autonomy. You know that we are currently consumed by the panic of the coronavirus. It's a very, very prevalent, and now it is pandemic, unfortunately. It has affected the lives of enormous number of people all over the world, and you are consumed by the panic, and probably, and you know that's the reason why this LINELT conference is held online, and it signifies the fact that online education, e-learning, and video conferencing, and flipped education, and also CMC and computer-assisted language learning are inevitable, and they are unavoidable. With the prevalence of these pandemic problems, with the prevalence of different kinds of barriers, geographical, hygienic, and sanitary problems, you see the importance of video conferencing and online learning. So what I want to emphasize is that we need to have the potential, we need to have the ability to interact with a large number of audience through computer, online, through laptops or whatever, or through mobiles. Hence, I get back to I just would like to recapitulate the main discussion, and getting back to the idea of the keywords that I said at the start. At the start of the talk, I talked about the idea of teaching languages with technology, and the topic as sine qua non of pedagogy. Sine qua non, as I said before, signifies something that is indispensable, something that is the main ingredient of any phenomenon. I get back to a quick recap of the keywords. Blended education, as I mentioned before, is a blend, is a combination of traditional approach to education and modern online education. I talked about CAL, computer-assisted learning, language learning that deals with any kind of application of technology in language or in any kind of learning or pedagogy, including mobiles, including social networks, social media, any kind of technology for the betterment and advancement of our teaching practices. I talked about CMC, computer-mediated communication, any communication that is mediated or carried out through computers. And this CMC and CMD, computer-mediated discourse. So the discourse is not necessarily exclusively nowadays dealing with the discourse of the classroom discourse. We are dealing with the idea of CMD now, or computer-mediated discourse, the discourse or the language of interaction among enormous number of people through mass media and through basically online, through computers. That's a different story. So if researches have been carried out on computer-mediated discourse and how it actually differs from actual classroom discourse. And there are basically a lot of differences in terms of interaction, feedback, exemplification, argumentation, counter-arguments, flexibility, and so forth. I also talked about digital literacy as an important, very, very significant phenomenon these days. Literacy, the term literacy, the umbrella term is literacy, like computer literacy, critical literacy, oracy, any kinds of literacy can be of paramount importance for ourselves as educators and the students and the scholars. So any kind of literacy as a general blanket term, including digital literacy. So how can we boost students' digital literacy for writing emails, for instance, provision of CVs, provision of resumes, cover letters, statement of interest, personal statements, different kinds of academic correspondence are related to digital literacy. So the paper and pencil manner of production is gone. Now it's replaced by digital correspondences. So we need to foster students' digital literacy in terms of how to, the soft skills especially. The soft skills are intimately related to the development of their digital literacy. So how they can develop their intercultural communication, how they can develop their interpersonal communication, how can they develop their emotional intelligence, empathy, creativity, critical thinking, also their correspondence, how can they find a job, basically. That's very practical. Finding a job, finding continuation of their education. These are practical, pragmatic necessities. Finding scholarships, continuation of their studies in foreign countries. So these actually guarantee their future success. So again, I would like to reiterate the significance of digital literacy and its different manifestations in success of our students. I also talked about MOOC, M-O-O-C, and the fact that nowadays MOOC is sine qua non, very important. Massive open online course produced by course owners at the universities, and now it's very dominant, and people very specialists actually produce videos, links, materials, questions, everything through the MOOC, and the students are able to register and matriculate, and they get online education, and there is online interaction and feedback and assessment, continuous assessment, and they are very productive and very, very interesting. They provide flexibility, creativity, and very, very interesting to follow. So the term technology, as I already explained, basically includes all these elements. Now the fact is, what are the potential challenges? There are some challenges. No process is complete. No process, no phenomenon is impeccable. No phenomenon is flawless or immaculate. There are always, issues, unprecedented, unpredicted problems and pitfalls that we have to be cautious about. So we need always to be aware of the fact that the problem with online education is student engagement, student involvement, and tracking and guaranteing that the students are actually, seriously, genuinely, wholeheartedly are engaged in the process of learning. That is, I think, the most important barrier. The other barrier is actually practicality. Like I talked about the digital literacy, but the fact is that some students actually are disadvantaged, not due to their performance or their academic achievement or competency or intelligence, but rather due to their lack of proper digital literacy. And we should provide equal opportunities and equal chances for all students to be able to learn and acquire this literacy and digital literacy to be conducive to their acquisition of the content. In other words, we need to give them equal opportunities, equal chances, and equal education and training to use the digital literacy for understanding the content and the materials. The other problem is that is finance and economic problems. Some students are disadvantaged. They're from poor backgrounds, or for any reason they haven't got the computers or necessary digital facilities at their disposal. That is also another problem. Poverty, lack of facility for students, that creates serious issues. The other issue that must be targeted is the idea of cultural differences and intercultural communication. High context cultures and low context cultures, they are different in terms of application of technology. So you cannot have a sort of blanket approach to all students from different, diverse ethnic, racial, cultural backgrounds. We need to be cognizant of the fact that the students from different cultural backgrounds, racial backgrounds, even economic backgrounds, have got different tendencies, different attitudes and opinions. So when we actually, I've got the experience of teaching in different countries and different, cultural backgrounds. And I have been teaching intercultural studies for a long time, and I see the nuances and the delicacy of the situation. So the way you actually provide information online for say Japanese or Chinese students is entirely different from the way you provide the same information for an American or English or European student. So different approaches, different attitudes, different motivation, different degree of anxiety, interest, involvement, task involvement, engagement and stuff. So before embarking on those, online courses and MOOC and all the relevant materials, you need to be well aware of these intercultural differences in terms of high context cultures as opposed to low context cultures, collectivist cultures as opposed to individualistic cultures. So this is another important issue to actually take care of. And also the the future, I wanted to talk about the future of education and the potential for AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is probably the most significant, sophisticated and fantastic phenomenon, and will be in the future, will be dominating all commerce and finance and education and pedagogy and everything. So I think we need to know about the significance of artificial intelligence that is also pretty related to, let's say, intimately related to the idea of technology. So as teachers and educators, we need to know about it, the ramifications, the consequences, probably the repercussions, and all the nooks and crannies of artificial intelligence. So, the ideas that could be, there are some points, also some concepts which can be used for carrying out researches, such as, artificial intelligence, the future of artificial intelligence and its manifestations, its influence on language teaching, on teaching in general, and pedagogy, and all the manifestations and all the aspects and dimensions of artificial intelligence, and how it can be employed for the advancement of pedagogy. Also, the ideas of the potential drawbacks or potential pitfalls of the application of technology and literacy in education. Now I'm trying to end this talk, and I would like to be in contact with you. And I am on ResearchGate. I'm also on academia.edu. I have two YouTube channels. Just you type my name on YouTube. That is, the channel is Professor Ali Rahimi. You can see all my talks, my keynote speeches, some of my book summaries and papers. And I would like you to be in contact. And that was a great chance to talk with you. And I hope we can be in contact in the future. And I hope my talk has been useful or provided at least some information or some interest for your future academic activities. Look after yourselves, and hope to see you in future academic settings. Thank you very much for the opportunity.